I guess one reason why I noticed that kind of stuff is because, well, I mean, I grew up in a very nice little town in Northern California. You know, when people talk about California, especially these days, they think of like San Francisco and tent cities and homeless and everywhere. Lots of problems, overcrowding. But when I grew up there, you know, until the 90s is when I really started leaving. It was my little town was very nice. It was up in the foothills and all. I think I've mentioned that before, but we've got new folks here. You know, I came to the Midwest because I realized even back then that I was never going to be able to afford a house. You know, there just wasn't a lot of good jobs, at least none that wanted the likes of me. And homes were exponentially going up by the day. It's, you know, so when I took some trips out to the Midwest, I quickly realized, you know, there was little towns with, I mean, they were like giving houses away in some places that, you know, I would end up in the UP and stuff, you know. Bought my first house in Ontonagon for $5,000, believe it or not. But yeah, you know, so when I go on these little trips and I go through these little towns, I look around, always asking the question, you know, could I live here? And well, like this little town, I could spend some time here and decide whether I want to live here or not. I don't think like that quite as much as I used to, because in some ways I've really found where I want to live. I love Lake Superior land. Love having access to that basically freshwater ocean, you know, right out my doorstep there. So it would be hard to find anything that would top that I'd want to leave that and come to. But, you know, I do still kick that around hypothetically. You know, could I live here? And, you know, if I moved to this little town, what would I do? I would, if I moved to a little town like this, let's say I was just wanting to start it new and I just decided this was it, right? Just, you know, you can plug and play any of these little towns we've been to just on this trip. I would probably live in my truck camper. I would try to find a couple jobs. I would save my money. I mean, I've always done this anyways. I would just save my money. I'd live on the super cheap, pretty much do what I do now, but go into super saving mode and save up a few $1,000s, try to find a little fixer-upper house. And like I've done many times now. And I would start fixing it up. I wouldn't have a mortgage. I would just forego all the comforts and, you know, kind of the instant gratification that comes along, which is very expensive when you start to think about it. And I would continue my delayed gratification and slowly build up a life, I guess is what I would do. I mention this because, you know, I think a lot of people have the same ideas, but they got to hear it from somebody else too. You know, they're not the only ones. You're not crazy. I've known a few people who have just kind of went out in the world and started over and found a nice little place that, you know, maybe God called them there. Maybe they just had a feeling that that's where they should be. And they started anew and they made it work. And they're happy to this day. So, yeah. The Midwest is still a good deal. I can tell you that.